Fantastic. Well, once again, I'm Gavin from Noizze, and I'm here with Dave Hunt from Anaal Nathrakh. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Really do appreciate it.
Not a problem, mate.
Seeing us. So how are you doing so far?
All right. We had a bit of a messy start to proceedings because the backline wasn't here and stuff, but it's all sorted in the end. So yes, we're just looking forward to doing the gig.
That's cool. How do you find gigging in London?
It's usually good, actually. Like anywhere, it can be a little bit up and down, unless you're Duran playing in a 100 capacity place.
Yeah.
But we've pretty much always had great fun playing. I mean, this was the first place we ever did a gig. We were asked by Terrorise magazine, in fact, said, "Do you want to put a live band together and do a show?" I hadn't thought of doing that, so we did, and it was here. So it's kind of nice to be back here as well.
And that was, if I'm right, that's back in like '98, wasn't it?
Oh no. We started around '98, '99. But for years we didn't do gigs. So the first gig we did was in December 2005, I think.
Oh really? Okay.
Like that. It was about 10 years ago, something around that. And we'd never played live with Anaal. We'd done bits with other bands before, but we'd never done it with Anaal Nathrakh before. But we did a thing for the BBC, the Radio 1 Rock Show, which probably doesn't exist anymore. But
I don't recall seeing it around at all.
But it used to exist, and they used to occasionally have live sessions. So you'd go down to Maida Vale, do some songs, and they'd broadcast it. And they asked us to do one of those, and for that we put a band together. And Terroriser heard that had happened. And we're like, and so they asked us to
play here.
Yeah,
this very good venue.
Yep, headlining here.
Wow,
it was our first ever show with Nathrakh.
Fantastic. But you say you started off pretty much as like a studio band and everything. Do you prefer it just in the studio, or have you quite liked the gigs?
It's totally different.
Yeah,
it's a completely different thing. It doesn't necessarily even feel like two different sides of the same coin, because it's such a different experience. Doing studio albums is it's quite hard work, actually. There's quite a lot to do. It takes a long time to get everything right, and you're focusing on the coming up with it in the first place side of things, and then you're working with computers and dials and switches and all that kind of stuff.
Do you tend to write most of your music in studio, or do you like to play, come up with things when you're touring and things like that?
It's all exclusively in the studio because there's only two of us. Technically in the band, we have people playing with us live. But when we do studio stuff, Mick writes music and I sing on top of it. That's it.
How do you find it with having like these session members to play live gigs and stuff? Do they pick things up quick?
They do if you pick the right people to do it.
That makes a lot of sense.
It will always come down to the calibre of people that you get the opportunity to play with. I mean, when we very first put a live band together, we had Nick Barker drumming for us, Shane from Napalm playing bass. These are not people who fuck around. They're not people you have to explain how to hold a drumstick. And since then, we've been lucky enough, although slightly less famous as individuals, nonetheless to work with some very talented people. So no, it's never been difficult because we can just give them the stuff, and they can come back and play it, or possibly give them the stuff and a bit of guitar tabs to clear up something that was tricky to hear. But it's all been very easy.
Fantastic.
And playing live is a very exhilarating thing. Personally, I find it shatteringly difficult. Not everyone does. I do. It's just the way it is. So it's a bit of an ordeal. But at the same time, it's quite rewarding to get stuck in.
I've also heard that you've rejected main stage appearances at big festivals and things. Is this true at all? In favour of playing second stage or something?
Once or twice. I mean, Bloodstock asked us to go on the main stage, and we said no, we'd rather headline the tent rather than probably not that high up the main stage because Opeth's on next or something. So to an extent that's true. I mean, we don't have some kind of furious ethical commitment to doing things a certain way. Because if we did, well, we probably wouldn't play here.
Yeah.
This place has an in-house promoter and hot and cold running water and management who turn up for their jobs. You can't be doing that.
Yeah.
You could spend your life playing in squats. And I've known people who did. But no, there's no big principle. But there have been times when, we're not going to, just for extra limelight, we compromise what we were trying to do, and we're not big on compromise. We'll try to work with people, but we're not big on compromising.
Fair. No, that makes a lot of sense. I just wondered if it was sort of like a preference to do things a bit more in personal gigs, if that makes sense?
Certainly a preference for it,
Okay.
But to an extent, you take what you can get. I mean, I've heard black metal, I think Watain refused to play during daylight hours because they need the power of the night or whatever it is that they think's important about it.
Yeah.
To be honest, to me, it sounds like a device to get on later at festivals. And it probably works quite well.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, I'm not putting words in their mouth.
Sure. I understand.
They have a particular commitment to doing things a certain way, and we don't necessarily cling to such things. But there's a preference for it. I prefer something more real, more interactive.
Okay.
I don't know if have you ever stood on a stage at a massive festival?
Yes, but kind of behind the scenes kind of thing. I was actually filming Bloodstock at one point, so
so that's kind of medium-sized,
Yeah.
big festival kind of thing.
Yeah.
Everything's so far away.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's fine, and sometimes it can be a fun, different thing to do. But given the choice, I'd rather do something more intimate and feel like you're engaging on a human level rather than presenting your superstardom to the world, which you can kind of feel like on a really big stage.
I seem to remember one of your gigs actually, you came up from the crowd onto the stage. I forget the name of the venue, which is Electroworks, I think.
Well, I used to do that all over the place. Okay. I did it at Hellfest, and that was a bit more difficult because
I imagine
the security are kind of a different level of things there. And I almost got thrown out of a club in Russia because I did the same thing. In Russia, the security guards are kind of on alert sometimes because it's a different deal over there. So I used to do that, and I did see that as kind of a mark of solidarity with the humanity of the people there, rather than this presentational thing. So
that does make a lot of sense.
I tend not to do it so much nowadays. A, because you can just irritate people by climbing over them, and B, tonight my knee's fucked. So I think I'll just walk comparatively meekly onto the stage. But
makes sense. I want to touch upon picking up on Anaal Nathrakh originally comes from like the 1981 Excalibur film, and one of the samples that is like most commonly associated with Anaal Nathrakh is from a 50s version of 1984. Like, how big a influence are like films on you? And like, actually, always wanted to know, what's the sample at the beginning of In the Constellation of the Black Widow, the very first song?
Where it says In the Constellation.
No, when there's like a agonising laugh or something.
Oh, that's me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of the stuff that you probably think are samples is actually me.
Oh, okay. I literally thought I heard that in a film somewhere.
No, you wouldn't have done.
Okay,
it was. I remember recording it. So,
okay, but
unless I was doing an impression of somebody, which I don't think I was.
Yeah.
But there's quite a lot of stuff where because you shouldn't use samples too much. I mean, there's public domain issues and stuff like that. But if something's on YouTube and it's got 8 million views on it, then it's probably not going to be too much of an issue. But you should still shy away. So a lot of the stuff that sounds like samples is actually me doing things. Because I enjoy making strange noises, essentially. You could try and put some clever sounding time. I enjoy the creation of soundscapes. The bottom line is making strange noises, and me and Mick enjoy making things like that together. In terms of the relevance of films, we're not massive film buffs. I know some people certainly are. A good friend of mine is an amazing film buff. But we do really, really like certain films. We don't see films as something that are largely irrelevant to life. They're just as, possibly even more so, but they're just as an important part of the document of a society and capturing the zeitgeist and conveying a message as great works of literature and stuff like that can sometimes be. So it's a glorious medium, I think, and we're fascinated by some aspects of it, but we're not mad film people.
Well, going back to sort of like samples and stuff, sort of like, because would it be fair to say that your sound has a bit of an industrial edge to it?
People use the word industrial. It's come up with this album actually. I've spoken to one or two other people.
Yeah.
And they've mentioned the word industrial. I'm not entirely sure what the word means.
Yeah.
Because I tend to think of it as a reference to what I think of industrial music, and that's things like throbbing gristle and so on, which many people who say the word industrial to us haven't heard.
Yeah.
so I'm not sure what they're really talking about. But there's electronic bits on it.
Yeah.
We use found sound, like things we recorded out and about,
Sure.
and so on and so forth, which I think are hallmarks of industrial music. So. Kind of, but it's not so much an influence, it's just something that we do.
Okay. More sort of like playing around with like particular kind of sounds and...
Yeah, we both really like sounds.
Yeah, and having that experimental side to it, I guess.
Yeah.
Trying to create... Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's been numerous times when me or Mick, we've been out somewhere and heard something, recorded it on our phone quick, and it's ended up on an album.
Fantastic. Okay, I just want to sort of like ask about opinions in terms of the music industry, because with the advent of the internet, it's really sort of like changed things in terms of getting things out there. How's this sort of changed? What's your thoughts on that? Sorry.
Did you seriously just ask me the question, give me your thoughts on the internet? How comfortably are you sitting? Because we could be here a while. No, sorry, that was a bit more aggressive. I was taking the piss.
Don't blame me, to be honest. I couldn't get my words out then for some reason.
It's all right. Yeah, obviously it's changed things massively. I mean, if nothing else, there's much less money in the music industry flying around than at one time there was. I don't know whether that means we would be rich people. No, we probably wouldn't. I don't mean that.
Sure.
I just mean the way the margins are calculated on things and how tight pursed these people have to be and so on.
I guess,
and that's just standard.
Yeah.
That's part of the world. Most creative industries are subject to that.
I think when I'm touching upon it, and I didn't word that well at all, but sort of like...
I was only joking.
Yeah, no, I was not conscious of that, but it's sort of harder to get an income that way because people are downloading things more.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah, I couldn't tell you. They probably could. I couldn't tell you how many albums we sell or anything because I don't really pay that much attention to that kind of thing, but I'm sure it's probably something like a third as many as we would have done if we were the same stature of band 20 years ago or something. So that I would imagine that must make a huge difference.
Yeah.
But we get by all right. You know, we haven't had to give up doing it because we couldn't afford to pay the bills. Admittedly, that means we have to do other things alongside making music, which maybe we wouldn't have done a few years ago. But it can still work.
What kind of other things do you do alongside the music?
Mick does all manner of stuff. He does painting. He records and produces music for other bands. He does quite a lot of general things like that. I'm a student alongside doing this. So yeah, basically I could do with some more money, but I live a very frugal existence instead. Otherwise, I'd be working doing something.
Well, I just want to finish off two questions. First of all, I'm curious as to what kind of bands that you're seeing are up and coming, you've seen around and toured with that you thought would need a bit more out there?
That would be a totally fair question if I were to know anything about that kind of thing. It's completely understandable that you would think I would. But to be perfectly honest, we exist focused entirely on what we're doing.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't particularly know the name. And that's not to say there's no one worthy of mention out there. I'm sure there are. There are some fantastic things going on out there. Sadly, I'm just not as aware of them as perhaps I could be.
I appreciate that. No worries.
It's a shame because I would like to be able to give you a couple of names that you never know. Me mentioning them to you might help them somehow. But I'm just not exposed to it.
Fair enough. I understand. Everyone's got different exposures. Well, last question then. I wanted to end it on a bit of a silly note. So I was hoping to ask, if you had 24 hours to live, what would you do with your last night?
Good Lord. I would probably revert to the most basic human instincts, I think. Fuck, drink, eat. That kind of thing. And then hold on to something that I thought was genuinely important. like several of my favourite philosophy books or something like that, which I probably wouldn't be able to focus on to read because of the aforementioned activities, but at least I would know they were there with me at the end.
Yeah.
Which
kind of books, if you don't mind my asking?
I don't know, maybe Twilight of the Idols.
Okay.
That'd be interesting. Or maybe something vastly emotional, like a volume of poetry or something like that.
Fantastic. Okay.
Turns out I'm a terrific bore. Yeah. Oh well.
Everyone's interesting in their own little ways. Well, thank you so much for the time today.
Right.
Really do appreciate it, and I hope you have a wonderful time at the gig and everything. Looking forward to seeing you.
Cool. I hope it's all right. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Cheers.